Okay, today we're going to start working on terminating and repeating decimals, which basically all that means is you're going to take a fraction and turn it into a division problem, which we already know all fractions are division problems. So terminating means it has an end. Repeating decimal means that it's going to go on forever and forever, but there will be a pattern. You will see where it's repeating and you'll be able to show the part that is repeating. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you an example of a terminating decimal and with 1/4. So 1/4 is going to be 1 divided by 4. So your numerator divided by your denominator. So 1 divided by 4. 1 won't go into 4, so I'll go ahead and add my decimals and my zeros. I'll add 3 of them. If I use them, I use them. If I don't, oh well. And if I need more, I can add more. 4 will not go into 1, but I have a decimal here, so I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. So 4 will go into 1, it will not, so I'm going to put an X. 4 will go into 10 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down my 0. 4 will go into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. And I get my 0. So it terminates when I get my 0 down here. So 4 will go into 1 0.25 times. So my answer for this right here is 0.25. So for this problem, if it would have been negative, then I would have done the same exact math. I would have just brought my negative sign off to the side and then brought it back for my answer. Give you another example here. If I have 5 over 12 and it's negative, so I'm going to set it up the same way. I'm going to have 5 divided by 12, and I just set my negative sign off over here because I'm going to use it once I'm done to put back with the answer. So 12 won't go into 5, so I'll put my decimal and I'll go ahead and do 3 zeros, and if I need more I can use them. So 12 will not go into 5. I've got to bring my decimal up to begin with. So I'll put an X or a 0. 12 will go into 50 4 times. 12 times 4 is 48. 50 minus 48 is 2. Bring down my 0. 12 will go into 20 one time. Twelve times 1 is 12. 20 minus 12 is 8. Bring down this 0. 12 will go into 86 times. 12 times 6 is 72. I get 8 again. Add another 0 and bring it down. 12 times 6 is, 12 will go into 86 times. 12 times 6 is 72. And I get 8 again. So I can already see that I've got a repeating decimal here. It's going to be 0.41666666 forever. So what I got to look at here is what is repeating. Is 416 repeating? Is 16 repeating? Or is just 6 repeating? So I'm going to write this with a bar over whatever is repeating. The only thing that's repeating in this decimal is the 6, so that is what the bar goes over. So I can drop everything after because I've got the bar notation, so I'm going to write negative, because we started out with a negative, 0.416, and the 6 repeats, so we have a bar over the 6. Going to work a couple more. So I can do negative 5 over 6, and I'll set that up as 5 divided by 6, and I'll bring my negative sign over here for my answer because I'm going to use it. So go ahead and put my decimal and my zeros here. 6, and move my decimal up. 6 won't go into 5, so I'm going to put 0 or an X, whichever one. 6 will go into 50 8 times. 6 times 8 is 48. 50 minus 48 is 2. Bring down my 0. 6 will go into 20 3 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract and get a 2. Bring down a 0. 6 will go into 20 3 times. Add another 0. Let's see, 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract is 2. Bring down another 0. 6 will go into 20 3 times. So I can already see that I've got a repeating decimal because I'm getting the same difference every time. So I have 0.8333. What repeats is just the 3. So the 3 is going to go over that, so I can drop everything after, and I'll have negative, because my fraction was originally negative, 0.83 with a bar over the 3, and that bar tells me that that 3 repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. Alright, show one more type. If it's negative 2 and 1/6, the negative and the 2 are going to come over here. You're going to have a negative 2 and then a decimal, because we know it's going to be 2 and then part of a number. So 1/6 is going to become a decimal. So I have my negative 2 over here, and now I'll do 1 divided by 6. Go ahead and add my decimal and my zeros. Extend my division bar. Bring up my decimal. 6 won't go into 1, so put an X there, because this decimal, everything to the right of the decimal, is going to come back over here for the answer. So 6 will go into 10 one time. 10 minus 6 is 4. Bring down a 0. 6 will go into 46 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract, I get a 4. Bring down a 0. 6 will go into 46 times. 6 times 6 is 36. I get a 4. Bring down a 0. And I can see that the 6 is going to repeat. So again, the only thing that's going to repeat here is the 6. So I can mark out everything to the right of it, and I have 0.16 with a bar over the 6 that goes back with my answer. So that's how you do it when it's a mixed number as well. So you're still going to just divide the fraction, but the symbol and the whole number will go ahead and be written as part of the answer, and it's going to be to the left, and the fraction to the left of the decimal, the whole number will be, and the negative sign if there is one, and the decimal, which is going to be coming from dividing out the fraction, will come to the right side of the decimal. Going to do one more, and then I'm going to give you a list of steps to follow. It's a little lengthy. This is one of the more difficult lessons, but if you follow the steps, if you really show your work and work hard on this and stay focused, it's not that difficult. It's just a little lengthy in the steps. So if I have 3 and 1/5 and I want to change it to decimal form, I take my 3, put it down here where it's going to be the answer, and go ahead and put a decimal. Now I'm going to divide out 1/5 to give me the right side of the decimal. The whole number goes on the left side. The fraction is going to go on the right side of the decimal. So I have 1 divided by 5. So I have my decimal and my zeros. 5 will not go into 1. So put an X there, and I've already brought up my decimal, so everything stays lined up. 5 will go into 10 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. I subtract and I get a 0. And like I said before, if you get a 0 on the subtraction part, you have a decimal that has terminated. So that means it has an end. It goes in evenly. It does not repeat. So for this one, it's going to be 3.2, because all that comes to the right side of the decimal before it terminates is a 2. So I put this with this, and I have my answer. Alright, at this time, I'm going to have you work a couple of problems, but before you do that, you're going to go get a sheet of paper, and you're going to write the steps that I'm displaying right now, you're going to write all of this on a sheet of paper, and you're going to have that with you for the example problems, and you're going to have this with you for the lesson as well. So at this time, pause the video, go get a sheet of paper quietly, write this down. Do not start back on the video until you have all of this written down. Pause the video now. Alright, now that you've got all that written down, you're going to do a couple problems on your own. So one is going to be 1/6. Work it out. 2 is going to be 8/9. And then 3 is going to be 3 3/4, but it's negative. Alright, so at this time, pause the video, work out these 3 problems, and when you unpause the video, I will work them out, and you will see whether or not you got them right. Pause the video now. Alright, for number 1, it was 1/6. We don't have a negative sign to worry about or anything like that, so we're just going straight up with 1 divided by 6. 1 divided by 6, put our decimal in our zeros. 6 will go in, or put my decimal up top, 6 will go into 1, it will not. So I put an X or a 0. 6 will go into 10 once. 10 minus 6 is 4, bring down a 0. 6 will go into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 40 minus 36 is 4. Bring down a 0. 6 will go into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Come out with a 4, and we can see that the 6 is going to repeat here. So I'm going to have 0.16, and this part repeats. I can lose everything to the right of it. So I've got 0.16 with a bar over the 6 for bar notation, showing that that 6 will repeat. Alright, going to move on to example number 2. And number 2 was 8/9. Again, it doesn't have a negative sign or anything like that to worry about, so we're just going to do 8 divided by 9. Add our decimal and our zeros. Bring our decimal up. 9 will not go into 8, so I'm going to put an X or a 0. 9 will go into 80 8 times. 9 times 8 is 72. Subtract 80 minus 72 and we get 8. Bring down a 0. 9 will go into 80 8 times. 9 times 8 is 72. 80 minus 72 is 8. Bring down a 0. And we can already see that it's going to repeat. It's going to be 0.88888, never ending. So I can put a bar over that 8, scratch out everything to the right, and I have 0.8 with that 8 repeating. That's my answer for example number 2. And the last one, we have example number 3. It was 3, I believe it was -3. Yes. -3 and 3/4. So I'm going to bring my -3 over here, put my decimal, and this is the start of my answer. Now I've just got to divide out 3/4. So 3 divided by 4, put my decimal in my zeros, put my X there, bring up my decimal. 4 will go into 30 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. Bring down a 0. 4 will go into 25 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. And this one does terminate. So this is it. You got a 0 down here, so you're done. It terminates. So the decimal part is going to be 0.75. So it's going to be -3.75. Like I said, this is one of our more difficult lessons because of the length of it and all the stuff that's involved. But keep those directions written on that sheet of paper with you at all times. That way, if you're working out a problem and you get stuck, you can check back and make sure that you have done every step that is listed on that sheet of paper. If you skip a step, you will not get the answer right. And remember, when you're doing bar notation, you only put a line over the part that repeats. If it's one number that repeats, you put the line over it. If it's two numbers that repeat over and over, you put the line over the two numbers. But you do not put the line over numbers that don't repeat. So good luck. If you need any help, raise your hand, and me or Coach Hunsucker will be around to help you.